So I have a couple of secrets to share with y'all today. I had the pleasure of speaking this weekend at the Black Nurses Week in DC, and I had at the last day we had a VIP session and we had to answer a lot of questions from the audience. And there were several questions. There were several individuals who were asking questions that had to do with imposter syndrome and battling imposter syndrome and feeling like you're not enough for what you're being called to do. You have this intuitive pull to do something, but you're feeling like you're not enough. Now, I personally have told my story several times about dealing with imposter syndrome and feeling like I wasn't enough and feeling like I wasn't equipped, especially at the beginning of my coaching career. And so as we were answering these questions in the VIP section about what it means to, like, how do you push through fear when you really want to do something, but you feel so scared and so nervous? Like, how do you show up even though you really feel like, I don't know if I'm equipped for this. I don't know if I'm capable, right? And many years ago, when I first started off as a health coach, I had imposter syndrome so much that it forced me to go back to school for 2 years. I actually was like, you know what? I'm just going to become a doctor because I can't help anybody with their health as a measly health coach and as a measly personal trainer. So I understand what it means to have imposter syndrome. And as I was listening to the young women yesterday at the event just talk about how they feel called to do this thing, but not sure where to start, it really got me thinking about how was I able to tap into that thing deep inside of me that allowed me to push past fear and continue in the presence of feeling like sometimes feelings of inadequacy, feeling like I might not be enough, feeling like I don't know if I can do this. And so I wanted to jump on really quickly and share with you guys my secret weapon for combating imposter syndrome and feeling like I'm not enough. One of the amazing questions somebody asked me this weekend, he said, how did you find your voice? He said, how did you find your voice? And I told him what I did to find my voice. And I told him very specifically because he saw me on stage. And I'm not going to lie to y'all, I killed it on stage this weekend, right? Killed it on stage. And everyone kept telling me throughout the remainder of the weekend, like, oh my God, you were so dynamic. You were amazing. Your talk was amazing. And I get that every time I speak, right? And I get it because I've practiced over and over again. So I'm going to tell you what I told him, and then I'm going to tell you my secret weapon that's really helped me to fight with imposter syndrome and feeling like I'm not enough. So he asked me, he said, how did you find your voice? And I'm going to tell you guys, as a speaker, look, somebody in the comments, thank you. Thank you, nurse who's official. I appreciate it. So how did you find your voice? I told him the very first thing I did was I created my own stage. So for anyone who aspires to be a speaker, anybody who really has fear around presentation, anybody who has fear of like speaking up in a group setting, anyone who has a fear with showing up in a space when you have ideas, but you're really nervous about sharing them, or maybe you don't feel like you're super articulate. I have friends who have had insecurities about the way they speak, right? The very first thing I did to combat that was I created my own stage. Once I discovered that I had a voice and that it was really like a powerful voice, like my best friend told me years ago, I think it was in 2016, she said, your speaking is your gift. And I was like, oh, okay. So let's develop this gift. So the very first thing I did to develop my gift and to find my voice was I created my own stage. So in July of 2017, I started a class that I did every month. It was called Get Planted, Introduction to a Whole Food Plant-Based Lifestyle. And I started this class in downtown Detroit once a month. I put it up on Eventbrite. Do we still use Eventbrite? I put it up on Eventbrite. And it was a free class, and I just invited the community to come out for 2 hours, and they can listen to me talk about plant-based nutrition. They can listen to me talk about health. They can listen to me talk about weight loss. And I started this class in 2017, and I did that class for 5 years straight. 5 years straight. I think we missed one Saturday in 5 years. And that was because I had a speaking engagement, actually, which was in DC. I was speaking at an event called SpeakerCon in DC in November of some year. That's the only Saturday I missed in 5 years. Okay. Even during COVID, we started in person in 2017. COVID came in 2020. We quickly pivoted to online and started doing the class virtually. I created my own stage. So the first way to find your voice, if you are someone who knows that your assignment requires you to be in front of people, if you are somebody who knows your assignment requires you to speak up, your assignment might require you to lead people, right? You may be being called to be a head of a community or start a company, whatever it is. If your assignment is requiring that of you, but you have fear around public speaking, you have fear around being the face of something, you have fear around leading people, you find your voice by creating your own stage. At least that's one way to do it. That's the way I did it. Because every month when I came back to that class, I got better and better and better. I started presenting and I started finding like, oh, making people laugh really disarms people. Okay, I'm going to make sure I'm funny. How do I become funny? I realized that knowing what you're talking about really intrigues people. Okay, I'm going to make sure I develop mastery around my subject matter. I started understanding that, make sure you include people in your presentation. Like, how do I engage audience participation? How do I get people to talk back to me? How do I get people to lean in, right? Like, how can I get better at storytelling? All of that stuff happened when I created my own stage and was going live every month on my own stage, teaching something that I was passionate about, right? So that's the other thing, is that not only did I create my own stage, I wasn't just willy-nilly about what I was sharing. I was very intentional about sharing something that meant something to me, so that when I did have to go back and study for mastery, it wasn't a hard task, because I was truly interested in what I was reading and what I was studying, right? So when people see how much you care about what you're talking about, it is attractive to them. So you want to make sure you choose a subject matter and choose a lane that you're really into, because I think one of the biggest compliments I get from people is like, oh my God, you're so passionate about this subject matter. That passion comes through, that organic passion comes through when you're in front of people, and it makes you even more attractive. But that's not even my secret weapon. Hold on, y'all. I'm in this. Let me sip some tea. Y'all know how we do. Okay. Let me tell y'all my secret weapon. I got two secrets to tell y'all. First, I have a secret to tell y'all about myself, and then I'm gonna tell you the secret weapon that I use to overcome imposter syndrome and fear when I first started speaking and presenting and coaching and teaching. Okay. First, let me tell you guys a secret about me. Good morning, Danielle on YouTube. First, let me tell y'all about a secret about me that most people are super shocked to hear. And that secret is I am an introvert. I am an introvert. Now, when people learn this about me, they're usually super shocked, like, no way. We've seen you on stage. We see how active and engaged you are when you present live. We watch you. We come to your master classes. You are so personable. You're so funny. You're so interactive. They're like, there's no way you're an introvert. And I'm like, yep, I'm an introvert. So that's the first secret you need to understand before I tell you my secret weapon. You need to know that I am naturally an introvert. So what does that mean? That means that in order for me to perform on stage like I do today, in order for me to show up the way I do, personable, jokes, laughing, physically owning the stage. I move from this side to this side. I walk up closer when I want them to get what I'm about to say. I lean back when I need to lean back. I engage. I ask for audience participation. I do callbacks. I do talkbacks. Like Lisa, somebody asked me yesterday at the event, was like, you didn't do Toastmasters or anything? I was like, no, I've never done Toastmasters, right? She was like, I am shocked. And I was like, thank you. So how did I get like that? Here's my secret weapon to how I overcame imposter syndrome and started showing up publicly. I created an alter ego. My secret weapon is actually a person, and her name is Angelica. Okay. Angelica is my secret weapon. Lisa is an introvert. Angelica is an extrovert. In order to survive in front of the public eye and to show up on assignment that I believe God has called me to do, I had to create an alter ego. So what I tell people when we were doing the Q&A at the event yesterday, I was telling them, like, who y'all saw on stage yesterday was not me. That was my alter ego. Like I activate her when I have to do things that are not naturally and organically who I am. I am not naturally an extrovert. Like, matter of fact, if you guys ever run into me like at an airport or out or something, you will probably be like, who is that? Like, I'm reserved. I'm to myself. I prefer to be alone. Like, I get recharged by being alone. I get drained by being around people. Like, I am an introvert. I have a personality assessment that my coach created that I take every year. And I just took it again earlier this month. And it said the exact same thing that it said last year. Like, yeah, we told you last year, you're an introvert. Okay. Like, you are an introvert, get over it. Right. And so this conversation is really for those of you who are more like me, where you're naturally quiet, you're naturally to yourself, you naturally prefer maybe to play the background. It's hard for you to be in front of people. Maybe it's challenging for you to speak up in big rooms, let alone get on a big stage and be in front of tens of people, hundreds of people, thousands of people. Maybe it's scary for you to put your own content out there. Maybe it's scary for you to show up on social media. Maybe it's scary for you to show up on a podcast, just anywhere where it has to be your voice. Maybe that's scary for you. And the way I've been able to do it is, number one, by creating my own stages that I show up on consistently instead of waiting for somebody to invite me to their stage, which means I'm not in control of how often I get to practice. I didn't want that. I knew speaking was my gift and that I wanted to perfect it and refine it at the highest level. And so I couldn't afford to wait for people to invite me to their stage. So I created my own. I created my own stage first and foremost. And still to this day, what you guys are watching right now is my stage. I go live every Monday morning. I have kept up that same thing. I'm like, I did First Saturdays for 5 years, from 2017 to 2023. That's really worked for me with refining my speaking skills, refining how I articulate myself, refining how I tell stories, refining how I engage with people, right? And so I was like, I don't want to stop that. So even though I stopped doing First Saturdays, I still do master classes like once a month. I still come on live on social media once a week. And I of course, still get booked to speak on other people's stages. And so the way I have developed Angelica and really helped her to get better as a speaker is I've made sure that she's always had a stage to practice on, whether it's our own or someone else's, and I activate her. Like when it's time for me to go on, I activate her. I say people's names, I laugh with them, I lean in. Yesterday, I was at my hotel in DC, and I had announced to my email list that I was going to be in town. So I'm like, hey, if any of my, followers or whatever, if you're in DC, I'm going to be there for a speaking engagement, let me know. So somebody replied back and was like, oh my God, I would love to meet you in person. I've been coming to your classes. I've been following you for a few years. I would love to meet you in person. And I was like, okay. So yesterday I told her to come to the lobby of my hotel and we can meet in person. And she did. And so I walked down into the lobby and she was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm meeting an internet celebrity. I'm like, internet celebrity? I'm like, where? But anyway, I was super flattered. It was super sweet. And so I activated Angelica in that moment. So Lisa didn't walk into that lobby. Angelica did, right? So I walked in, big smile on my face, gave her a hug, sat down, kicked it with her, right? And then at the end, because I'm getting even better at like capturing these moments, because my team is always like, Lisa, you don't film anything. You don't take no pictures. You do all these great things. Nobody knows about it. And I'm like, who cares? But anyway, business is business. So at the end of our conversation, I was like, hey, let's get a pic together. We took a pic and everything. And it was Angelica, like being extroverted, leaning in, showing, one of our fans some love. And that's who I had to activate. So my secret weapon for combating imposter syndrome, finding my voice, feeling like I wasn't enough, or maybe not even knowing who I was naturally, was creating an alter ego, because I am naturally an introvert. And so I had to master extrovertness when I needed it, because my assignment, which is to extend the healthy life expectancy for people of color, requires me to be a public figure. And because I want to become a historical figure, and I want to make history by helping people of color, marginalized communities to get healthy, right? That's a big deal for me. Black and brown people, I want us to be healthy. I want all of our great ideas to stop ending up in a graveyard because we're dying prematurely from things that were preventable. And so I had to create an alter ego so that I didn't fumble the ball on God's assignment. Donnell said, hold on, you're in DC. I am, Donnell. I'm at the airport now, but I am. The weekend was crazy. But I am. But guess what, Donnell? I'll be back in 2 weeks. Actually, I'll be back in DC in 2 weeks. So I'm going to hit you up because I'll have more time during that time, and I'm going to come check you guys out. So here's the final thing I want to tell you guys. I was watching a film recently about golf, right? Weird. And it was a documentary, and one of the golf instructors, he said something super cool during this film. He said, golf is played on a 5-inch course. And I was like, eh? And he was like, the space between your ears. He was like, golf is a mind game, right? Golf is played on a 5-inch course. It's all about your beliefs and how you think. And I believe that is exactly how entrepreneurship, and that is exactly how life is played. I feel like the game of life, the game of entrepreneurship, is played on a 5-inch court. And it's the same thing. It is the space between your ears. When we have these thoughts about, I'm not good enough to do this thing, I don't belong in this room, I'm not as good as them, I'm not as adequate, I'm not as articulate, I'm not as smart, I don't have all the credentials, I didn't graduate from here, I don't have the years of experience, I've never done this before. I hear this a lot of time from my coaches that I coach inside of my business accelerator. Like, I've never coached anybody. I mean, I have this testimonial myself, but I don't know how to help anybody else to do it, right? All of this, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I don't have any confidence, all of this stuff. I'm telling you right now, anytime you're new at something, entrepreneurship, being new at something, speaking, coaching, whatever it is, leading or growing a community, whatever it is, that the game of that is played on a 5-inch course. It is the beliefs that you are allowing to seep into your subconscious that are making the decisions for you. If you are not naturally someone who would be, a people person, who would be not robust, what I'm thinking, boisterous, who would be excited and have all of this energy. If you're naturally a quiet person, if you're naturally a private person like me, like I'm super private, and I'm like, how can I become a public figure and be super private? I'm like, Angelica gonna figure it out. Right? There's so many qualities about me that are not naturally made for the public eye. I'm introverted and I'm super private. I prefer to be by myself, all of that stuff. But you guys have to understand, the secret weapon that I've personally used is by creating an alter ego, and she shows up for me, and I've trained her, and I can continue to train her. And that, my friends, is called self-mastery. When people see me perform publicly and I get off that stage and I start having private conversations with people, and they're like, Lisa, I can't do what you do. I'm not. How did you get like that? Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you go on other people's stages and podcasts? And how do you show up like that? Fun, vibrant. I'm like, first of all, I genuinely enjoy it. So I'm not dreading it. I genuinely enjoy it. But I also know that when I'm done, I have to have a vulnerability hangover. I got to carve out space to have a vulnerability hangover, because I've just done something that is not natural to who I am. Right. And so it's very important that you know who you are first, know who you naturally are. And once you're clear on who you naturally are, the next thing you need to know is, who do I need to become in order to execute on the assignment? Right? So who do you need to become in order to execute on the assignment? And for me, I needed to create an alter ego who could show up for me in those spaces, who could do all the shaking hands and kissing babies. You know what I'm saying? When somebody, replies to an email and was like, you're going to be in my city, I really want to meet you. I used to run from things like that. Like, I don't want to meet strangers. But it's like, Lisa, you have been pouring into these people for years. You have hundreds, thousands of people who know you, who follow you, who have been following your coaching programs, who've been listening to your lives, who came to your first Saturday classes for 5 years. Like, you owe it to them to give them a pick and give them some conversation. So forget about your personal preference. Who the heck do you need to become in order to show up on assignment? And I think sometimes for a lot of us, our personal preference is trumping what you're being called to do. So we got to check in. What is your personal preference, and how can you blend that or mesh that with what's being required of you? So be very careful with being like, I want to be behind the scenes, I want to be quiet, or I'm not good enough, I don't have the voice for it, so I'm just going to do something that's off assignment but honors my personal preferences. No, you got to be careful with that, right? So people know Angelica, they don't know Lisa, right? There's only a few people who actually know Lisa, but people get to know Angelica because that's who I have to bring out in order to show up, right? And it is two very different sides of me, but she's my secret weapon. She's my secret weapon. Let me see. Melissa on YouTube said that live video on being new at something was so helpful. Oh, I'm so happy to hear it. You know what, Melissa, that was one of my in the last week, several people have commented on that YouTube video. They were like, matter of fact, I was teaching our students yesterday in Farm to Table, and a couple of them were like, yo, when I listened to how to be new at anything, Lisa, your episode about how to be new at anything, it was game changing. So if any of you guys are struggling with being new at something and trying something that is super scary for you outside of your comfort zone, I did a video on YouTube 2 weeks ago entitled How to Be New at Anything. And that one is fire. There are so many nuggets. There are so many nuggets dropped on that episode. I was in my bag. And so How to Be New at Anything is a powerful episode. If you want more of what I just shared today, that episode will be the prerequisite for what I just shared with you today. How to Be New at Anything. So that's on my YouTube channel at Lisa Angel Smith. Dynell on YouTube said, say the 5-inch quote again. Yes. Okay. So on the golf film that I was watching, Dynell, the golf instructor said golf is played on a 5-inch course. That's what he said. And then I kind of rewrote it a little bit and said the game of life and the game of entrepreneurship is played on a 5-inch court. And it's all about what's happening in the space in between your mind. One of the most powerful qualities that a leader needs to be a successful leader is emotional intelligence. Like, you have to be able to navigate the emotions that comes with being outside of your comfort zone, being new at something, having to solve problems, having to make decisions, all of that. You have to be able to navigate success. You have to be able to navigate disappointment. All of that requires that 5-inch court to be very healthy. That 5-inch court is your mind, is your brain, right? And if you are not healthy, if you're not doing the personal development work, if you don't have the support system, then it can be really dangerous, because a lot of times it's not truly disappointment or failure that takes us out the game. It's our own thoughts and our beliefs about what we're going through. Thank you, Dr. Travis. Melissa was on top of it, man. Melissa, the consummate note taker and intellect. Thank you, Melissa. So that's it. Hey, said, let me subscribe to your YouTube. Y'all know what I did yesterday? I was walking last night. And I was like, let me look at how well we've been doing on YouTube, right? And so I went on my YouTube page last night to see how many subscribers I had. It was 513. Now looks like we got 514. What up, though? And because I was like, I want to see how I wanted to set a goal for how many I wanted by the end of the year. So I was like, let me see how many we've gained. What's the average that we're amount of followers we're gaining every day? Because data, right? And so last night I went on my YouTube channel, and I started getting serious about this channel on February 1st of this year. Since February, and we started with zero. So February 1st, I had 0 followers. Now on YouTube, as of last night, we have 513. When I did the math, I literally counted the days. I'm like, how many days between February 1st and July 28th? It was like 178 days. So based on that math, we're gaining about 2.8 followers a day. And if we continue at this pace, we'll be at 949 by the end of the year. I didn't like that number. I want to round that out to 1,000. And so I was like, okay, I got to make my content better. I got to share it more. I got to get more serious. So that's my new goal. Hey, she said you're at 515 now. Hey, So we're at 515 on YouTube. And I'm going to try and create really, really good content like I did with our video 2 weeks ago about how to be new at anything, and really just lean into like what you guys are struggling with and what you guys need help with. And if I've been able to overcome that, then I'm going to put, like a mini framework together like I did with that episode and put that on YouTube for you guys. And so I want to try and make sure one of my goals every day in business is to make sure that our free content is better than some people's paid content, right? Just really making sure we're adding value at the highest level possible, right? So it's not about the numbers right now. I heard Myron Golden say recently, he's like, in the beginning, when you're new on a certain platform, the goal is not to like grow. The goal is just to get good. So I'm just trying to figure out what YouTube likes. I kind of know how to show up for you guys on Instagram. I kind of know what my audience on Facebook likes and how you guys vibe. So I'm trying to figure out, crack that same code for YouTube. And so the goal is to get to 1,000 followers by December 31st. And so we got to up that 2.8 per day number to a little more. So we'll see what happens. That's it for me, guys. I'm going to sip this tea. Listen, so I'm in this new lounge at DCA. They have this new American Express lounge, right? So I'm here. And as soon as I'm super excited. It's my first time in this lounge. I've been reading articles about this lounge online. I come into the doggone lounge like super excited because the article that I was recently reading about this new Amex lounge said that they have like these 2 Michelin star chefs that prepare food for the lounge. And I'm like, oh, I'm about to eat good. I know they're going to have vegan options, right? Soon as I get into the walk up to the checkout desk, he like, just FYI, we only got cold food today. I said, you say what? We only got cold food today. So I might have to spend money on food. So they have these Michelin star chefs that are supposed to be the best who are preparing the food in this lounge. And I don't know if they're preparing the cold food today, but I'm upset. Okay. I'm upset because I'm really hungry. I went for like a pretty long run this morning. And so I'm really hungry. This is the first thing I've like drank outside of water. I haven't eaten anything yet. My fast ended 30 minutes ago. And this lounge is talking about they ain't got no hot food. Okay. Disrespectful. So now I might have to go find something in the actual airport. So that sucks. But anyway, that's it for me, guys. I'll be back here next month. The betrayal. Exactly. The disrespect. I'm like, on my first visit, y'all ain't got no hot food. I'm like, well, doggone it. So this better be the best fruit salad I've ever had. And it better be organic. Y'all better not have no nonsense up in here. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to tour the rest of the lounge, y'all. I hope this was helpful. I almost didn't make it on this morning, but we pulled it off. I got through security and everything pretty quickly because consistency. So I'll see you guys back here next Monday with a new topic. For those of you who need to get over imposter syndrome and need to find your own voice and need to combat fear that's bubbling up for you when it's time to do the thing you feel like you're being called to do, I would highly recommend creating an alter ego and letting your alter ego do the work for you, because her honey Angelica showed out this weekend. She was on stage showing out. Matter of fact, y'all look at my clip on my Instagram page. For you guys, I think it was the last clip I posted yesterday, I think, or 2 posts ago. But that clip y'all see on my Instagram page, that's Angelica, honey. She was acting up, okay? She gave the people exactly what they wanted this weekend and even more. And so I hope that's advice that's helpful for those of you who are in that space. Okay. Until next time. Bye, guys.